Tonight I'm joined by the former governor of West Bengal and Mahatma Gandhi's grandson, Gopal Gandhi. Mr. Gandhi, before I talk to you about the election campaign that's underway, let's look back on the 5 years of the Modi government that are coming to an end. In your eyes, what sort of government has it been?
That this government has shown itself to be completely insensitive to the feelings and aspirations of the minorities who are the victims and also in many ways the manipulated arsenal of terrorism. They are an extremely vulnerable and sometimes tragic community, the Indian Muslims. They are a people with a great culture and a civilization who are being placed in the crosshairs of pseudo-nationalism and terrorism. The government has been very insensitive to their feelings. And on corruption, I am afraid the recent revelations, of which the people of India are all too aware and on which the Supreme Court has given its verdict. On corruption, the government has not lived up to what it wanted to. So on both these issues on which it started off very comfortably and very confidently, it has a very different face to show today. And these two, I believe, are at the heart of the government's 5-year rule, and it has been found greatly wanting. And I'll just add one very quick supplement to this, and that is the farmers of India. It started off as a party which would give succor and relief to all sections of the people and particularly to the farmers of India. But the farmers of India are in a state of rage.
Okay.
That's the only word that can be used.
Let me
They
pick
are
you up.
outraged by the neglect of this government.
Mr. Gandhi.
The image of the government today is not that of a clean government. It is not that of a government which has been transparent in its dealings. Far from it. It started off as that because the predecessor government, the UPA 2, had a great deal to account for in the matter of corruption. And so the people expected the new government to be transparent. It has been anything but. And not only that, in its raids on individuals, its selective handling, its selective raiding, its completely impartial actions have been so blatant that the people of India, aided by the media, have understood that this government's position on corruption is as follows. The corruption of the opposition is to be highlighted. The corruption of those in the governmental side, corruption of those in office today is a different matter. Don't talk to us about it.
Okay.
This is very clear and the people of India have understood it. And I think nowhere is this more clear than in the Supreme Court's latest position on the Rafale deal. Today, the level of histrionics has beaten all records, and a country which is used to elections and electioneering, this is the 16th time it is voting for a new parliament. Dramatics are very easy to recognize as dramatics, and that is what they are now seeing it to be.
So
and
using
the desperation with which those dramatics and theatrics are being spread shows how they have been perceived by the people of India. I do not think we should be obsessed by Mr. Modi today. That the people of India, in the country as a whole, in the different states as a whole, are not going to be swayed by one individual, whatsoever be his technique. They are going to judge him by the realities on the ground, and those ground realities show that this government, which is seeking a mandate for the second time, has let down the people on all the basics of human livelihood, of what makes life worth living.
Okay.
Starting with a simple employment situation in which we not only have unemployment, but we have actually de-employment following demonetization, in which the farmers of India have been completely let down, not just by the weather gods, which are a letdown, but by the way the government has treated their problems.
Okay.
The combination of techno-commerce and of commercial investors and of government at the same time,
Okay.
is a combination which can be called the combination of cynical unconcern.
Mr. Gandhi,
It required agitations of a large scale. The realities of this situation, ground situation
Okay.
today, by a completely cosmetic rhetoric regarding issues which are not issues, but which are like magic lanterns, a scene like of puppeteers, in which you create demons in order to demolish them on a screen which has also been put up by you to mask the realities of life.
can I
To
ask you,
convert an election from a narrative into what can be called a cinematic entertainment is what is being attempted, and that entertainment is not innocent.
Okay.
That entertainment is extremely divisive
Mr. Gandhi,
and manipulative.
Mr. Gandhi,
Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee was a quintessential member and leader of the Bharatiya Janata Party and formerly the Jana Sangh. But look at the difference between the ideological content of Mr. Vajpayee and the ideology of the BJP today. I just want to say something which is probably like opening a new theatre in our discussion, which is this. We are having an election at a time when there is no war between India and any of its neighbors, particularly Pakistan. But the elections which made Mr. Vajpayee Prime Minister for a full 5 years were called during the Kargil war, and Mr. Vajpayee was such a remarkable person, a political anachronism, I would say, in the BJP. He was detached about it, and he very pointedly refused in one way after another to use the army and the military for electioneering purposes. He kept them completely out of it. There was a famous incident when during the Kargil war, there was a political meeting in Haryana when pictures of the army chiefs were used as a backdrop. When Mr. Vajpayee saw them, he objected to it. He said, "This is not on," and he had it immediately rectified. Mr. Vajpayee's example is an example which we must recall today. Today, the government, I'm afraid, is doing the very opposite. I don't want to go into details, but I just want to say this. General V.P. Malik of the Sikh Light Infantry, he had become a household name during the Kargil war, but he did not allow himself to be used in any way by electioneering. And not only that, there was a famous correspondence between the COAS, the Chief of Army Staff, and the Chief Election Commission on the role of the army and its potential to be used and misused and co-opted by the government. Political personalities tried to co-opt the army in Kargil war for election.
Okay.
Mr. Vajpayee stood firmly against it. Today that is not happening. It is not happening at all. And there is an attempt, a very unfortunate attempt, to touch the patriotic chords of the people of India, the nerves of nationalistic loyalties in India, for what can be called an electioneering purpose.
Now tell me what you think of Rahul Gandhi.
I must say that I have the greatest admiration for the energy that he is expending on this election, ceaselessly, state after state, in constituencies that are difficult and in constituencies that are sure wins for him. He has shown himself to be a campaigner, a crusader, and a person who is charged with absolute commitment for the Republic of India. There is no way in which anyone can deny this. He has, it is patronizing to say that he has come into his own, that he has grown.
Question, Mr.
I don't want to say
Gandhi,
that.
is
he
different.
is doing extremely well.
But Mr.
I think Mr. Gandhi is ready to be Prime Minister. I am not sure whether the country is ready for any particular person as Prime Minister. The country would like to see a just government, a government that has a commitment to equity, is transparently clean, and is committed to the people of India, the livelihood of the simple people of India. And I do not think the Prime Minister of a non-BJP government is the issue today in the minds of the people. It is not. We are once again giving Mr. Modi the kind of attention that he does not deserve, which is to find an alternative to Mr. Modi. Why should anybody try to match up to Mr. Modi? We are not thinking of the Prime Minister of India today. We are thinking of the people of India today and what they need in their respective states. And I am convinced it could be Mr. Gandhi, it could be somebody else, but it could certainly not be somebody who is being projected as an alternative to Mr. Modi.
Okay.
India will find the Prime Minister that India needs, in the sense in which it has found Prime Ministers in the past. The people of India will find a Prime Minister. It could be a woman, it could be a Dalit, it could be Mr. Rahul Gandhi, it could be anybody whom the people of India finally, through the genius of the election mechanism, find. And I am absolutely convinced that if the people of India have sent more MPs to Parliament than the BJP finds in its lists, if the numbers of the non-BJP MPs are even slightly over that of the BJP or the NDA, they will come together in a post-poll confabulation and give to India the Prime Minister that India deserves.
Let me at that point interrupt once again, Mr. Gandhi.
I will wish
let me interrupt one more time.
As a person who is committed to the poor of India, to the farmers of India, to the women and the Dalits of India, I want such a Prime Minister. And I am confident that such a Prime Minister can arise from the multiplicity of opposition parties that are today fighting, though not all together in methodology, but certainly together in the aim of giving India a change. India deserves a change. India is waiting for a change.
Mr. Gandhi,
its leaders should not disappoint.
Don't identify